watching PowerNation.
Today on Music City Trucks, we're putting the finishing touches on TrashHawk.
And then it's off to the races with a payoff you won't believe.
Welcome to Music City Trucks. I'm Brandon Burke.
And I'm Mark Crest, and we've got our Jeep project back in here. It's an XJ86 Jeep Wagoneer that we're calling TrashHawk.
It's got an LS supercharged engine, 6-speed manual transmission, and we swapped in a Ford 8.8 in the rear.
We lowered it, converted it to two-wheel drive, which is kind of not normal, but we also did a DIY big brake upgrade. Now, it's a big day for us and for this project because we're going to get all the finishing touches done on it, get it running and driving, and take it out and shred some rubber.
Man, I was going to say that. All right, the first thing I'm going to work on is our fuel system. Now, the guys down at Engine Power already installed a Fitech EFI system on our supercharged LS, so of course I went back to them for our fuel pump. This has two 340 liter per hour fuel pumps in it. It's internally regulated and it's capable of up to 1,600 horsepower. So this system's perfect for what we got going on with our 788 horsepower. The kit also comes with all the fittings, stainless lines. All I gotta do is find a spot under the truck and get this thing mounted. Okay, with how low this Jeep is and how tightly packaged everything is underneath the truck, the safest place for this fuel pump is gonna be on this interior quarter panel. All I gotta do is make a metal bracket to hold it up, run the fuel line straight through the floor into the tank. And the cool part about this, I get to keep most of my interior panel. All I gotta do is cut a little hole out, so just gotta make the bracket. The material I'm using is just some polished stainless I found laying around. Oh, dude, that ain't going nowhere. Now all I gotta do is get the panel trimmed, run the fuel lines to the floor. Yeah.
We got a new tank from rockauto.com, but modified the original sending unit with a pair of -6 bulkhead fittings so we could retain our factory fuel gauge. With the tank in place, we're going to install this inline electric fuel pump.
All right, now that we got all the components mounted, it's time to plumb everything. Now, how we get all that fuel out of the tank is by that pump that Mark just installed right about here. That's actually gonna feed this sump. And this is your inlet for the sump, and then this is the return back to the tank for the fuel you don't need. And these are your two high pressure lines that are gonna feed the engine. Now, both those lines get a check valve, and we're gonna go ahead and run it through a Y, that way we can run one line up to the front. Then that's gonna take a 10 micron filter before it gets to the engine, that way we know the fuel is nice and clean. Now, how all that's regulated is by these two boost references right here, and that's gonna run off the vacuum of the engine. Now, the nice thing about Fitech is their fuel pump wire and relay are already integrated into the EFI, so all you gotta do is plumb and wire everything and you're ready to go. We just went ahead and cut a hole in the floor, nothing too crazy. We're just using -6 AN lines for the whole fuel system, and we're installing all the fittings hand tight until all the lines are routed. Then we'll go back and tighten everything. Installing AN hose ends onto braided line can be a little tricky at first, but practice makes perfect. This is the return line to the tank. Looks pretty good. This is our little contraption we came up with to get our check valves, our Y, and our post filter installed so that we only have to run one line up to the front.
Wow, that looks really nice, Brandon.
Yeah, this setup, pretty sweet.
So, I hate to stop you, but we've got some other things that we need to take care of here.
It seems like you're putting a lot of pressure on me.
Brakes, talking about brakes. Up next, we put a charge along with a sweet brake upgrade in TrashHawk. Well, up front here, we've gotten a lot accomplished. If you'll remember last time, we switched this thing from 4-wheel drive to 2-wheel drive, and then we lowered it. And then we also upgraded to the WJ brakes, which added about 1 inch overall diameter to our rotor, which is a pretty cool brake upgrade for you DIYers at home. But we do have some more upgrades that we want to do to the brakes here, which we're going to do first. But while we're at it, we're also going to finish all the other connections up front. A couple of things we've got missing, like we got to get our sway bar links connected here. We still got to connect the brake hoses and a couple other little things. These OEM pads and rotors are fine, but we've got something better in mind. This axle stub right here, this is important.
Just like the 4-wheel drive version, the hub bearing assembly is held together by the axle. And since this is a 2-wheel drive, it still needs that support. So this unit gets a stub shaft in place of the axle shaft and is torqued to 175 foot-pounds.
Now that big brake upgrade we showed you last time is just fine with all of those OEM components, but we're gonna be doing some particularly spirited driving with our Jeep here, so we went to EBC brakes for this pad and rotor combo. This is EBC's USR rotor. These YELLOWSTUFF pads are my go-to. These pads are great for the street or track. Oh yeah, that looks nice. One last upgrade we want to do here on the front suspension on our Jeep is going to be this track bar. Now this factory one is just fine if you're going to be running stock ride height. If you're going to lift or lower, in our case, you want to have an adjustable track bar. Now this one we got from Summit Racing. It is made for lifted Jeeps, but since it's adjustable, this will work fine for us, and plus, it's extra beefy. With that track bar in place, we can get the sway bar links installed, followed by the tie rods, and this front end is done. Well, that does it here for the front end of our Jeep. We do need to bleed the brakes, and as you can imagine, our alignment's all out of whack now, so we need to get that taken care of, but we'll do all that right before we take it out for its maiden voyage.
All right, so the last time we worked on this rear end, we got it all welded up, the pinion angle's correct, went through and put new bearings and seals in it, even did a true track and this nice fancy diff cover, even got the shocks and sway bars in it. But the one thing we didn't do are these wheel studs. Now, since we're running almost 800 horsepower to this rear end, we want to put stronger studs in it and longer studs. That way we could run different tires, say we're at the track or the drag strip. So the first thing we need to do is get these axle shafts out. Now I went ahead and took the gas tank and fuel lines out to make it a little easier for you guys to see this. These differentials are so easy to take apart. Most of it falls out. There we go. Once you get that C-clip out, axle shaft just comes right out. So here's a little comparison between the wheel studs we're going to be using. You can see this is the factory one and this is an ARP one. They're a lot longer and stronger, and a lot of racing sanctions actually require you to have a longer wheel stud. So this is a little safety precaution for us on TrashHawk. It takes a little extra effort to install these ARP studs because the knurls are so strong, which is exactly what we want.
Well, we're getting pretty close to the finish line here on our Jeep, but there's a few things we still need to button up before we can get this thing on the ground and running and driving. One of those is the electrical system, specifically the starting system. So we went to our local AutoZone for all of this stuff by Duralast. This battery is actually the size that's for our Jeep, but it's got enough cranking amps to turn over that supercharged LS that we've got under the hood. and they had the battery cables we needed. We just ordered custom lengths. But the centerpiece when it comes to the starting system is, of course, the starter itself. So we went with this Duralast remanufactured starter. Now, remanufactured doesn't necessarily mean less quality. These Duralast starters are engineered for OE or better performance and torque output. They're remanufactured by Tier 1 or OE manufacturers with 100% new wear components and high quality materials. All the brushes are completely new, and these things are built to take the heat. With some new bolts and those fresh cables, this Jeep's almost ready to get cranking. Well, that pretty much buttons up the underhood here for our TrashHawk. As you can see, we had to cut a hole in the hood here for the air cleaner. That's fine. I mean, we knew we were gonna have to do something with that anyway, and then we added some hood pins, unfortunately, but I'm okay with hood pins as long as they're functional. And since we had to eliminate our hood latch a while back when we installed that radiator, well, they were kind of necessary, but they do kind of look cool. So it won't be long now until this thing is gonna be hitting up the track.
Next, TrashHawk shows its dynamite.
This thing feels like a rocket ship. Well, we are getting dangerously close to getting TrashHawk out for its maiden voyage, and to do things, well, Jeep Wagoneers just shouldn't do. And the last piece of the puzzle is gonna be wheels and tires.
Now we went with an off-the-shelf 18-inch Koenig. This is a flow-formed wheel, so it's not gonna break the bank. We went with bronze to match that wood grain. Now these are Continental Extreme Contact Sports, 285/40 in the rear, 265/40 in the front. This is an ultra high performance street tire for your daily or track vehicle. This has a 340 tread wear, so it's not a full race tire, but it's not gonna wear out as soon as you hit that asphalt. Now this thing is awesome in the dry, but extremely good in the wet, and that's because of the tread design and all this siping. So if you've got a street truck or a full-on race car or just a track daily, this is the perfect tire. Now, we chose this for TrashHawk because it's light, has a ton of horsepower, and we need all the traction we can get to that asphalt on the street and the track. So, just gotta put this one on. It may or may not be your cup of sweet tea,
but this is TrashHawk, and we absolutely love it.
All right, we got TrashHawk all buttoned up, and we're down here at engine power on the dyno to see how much power it makes, because this is a trashy version of a Trackhawk. So one of our requirements was 707 at least horsepower.
Well, we did that on the dyno, made 787, so we beat it by 80, but these things will have about a 15% driveline loss with a manual transmission, so it'll be interesting to see what it does, but this thing is spectacular. It's one of my favorite builds you guys have done.
Well, I appreciate you guys saying that, because you guys are about the first people to see this, so.
If y'all are done yakking, we'll see what it'll do.
Right.
I'm excited. I want to see.
I'm gonna turn on a loud fan here.
Hey, Dad, when we get to the store, can I get a toy?
We have toys at home, son. You keep it up, I'm gonna turn this thing around and take us back home.
You know what the first rep was?
I forgot to push the red button. I was just so like
652.
652.
Yeah.
Oh.
652 and 601 pound-feet.
601.97 pound-feet.
That's ripping.
That's meaner than I thought it was going to be through that exhaust.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. I expected it to be a little less, I'm going to be honest with you. Dude, I am almost speechless on this one because it's so cool.
This thing is so sweet.
I want to see it run, and now you're going to go run it.
Oh yeah. As much as I'd love to sit here and just make pulls all day, we got to go drive this thing.
This thing's going to be wild. You better be careful.
No doubt. It was wild on here.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it. Woo!
If you're looking to upgrade the exhaust system on your Jeep, look no further than JBA Performance Exhaust from Pertronix. Now, they sell a wide variety of bolt-in stainless kits. This particular one is an axle back for an 07 to 18 JK. Comes with all your clamps, really nice ones. mandrel bent tubes, even mounts in the factory hangers so you don't have to fabricate anything yourself. So if you're looking for better performance and a better sound out of your Jeep, this is it. And to top it off, even comes with these polished stainless tips.
Up next, it's hot laps.
And hotter burnouts.
Well, we are here at NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and what better place to take TrashHawk out and see what it can do.
Then the track? Yeah.
Yeah, and then out here in the lot.
Yeah.
Because,
well, there's a lot of rubber left on these new tires.
yeah, those tires aren't gonna be any good when we're done here, I promise you that. So, I figured since you haven't been out here on this track and I've got some seat time out here and some experience with this track, let's just take some leisure laps here.
Yeah.
So you can get a feel for the track.
Totally.
It's an amazing facility. The surface is great. It's got some elevation changes, all different types of turns.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good track. Lots of power, man.
Yeah.
Steering is not as positive as I would want it to be, but this thing is straight up animal.
Man, this thing feels stable.
It is.
Woo! Oh, there's death wobble.
Felt it.
Yep.
It's a little sketchy. I'm not gonna pretend like it's not. But feel that lateral grip.
Yeah. I mean, the grip with these tires is pretty impressive.
That was all those brakes had. That was all they had. But you know what? Overall, this thing is mind-bogglingly fast.
Yeah.
We're gonna do some cool down. Because that was a little harsh.
Our suspension setup, as far as, because we got the lifted coils that have a higher spring rate
Right.
that we cut shorter.
Yep.
We have the add leaf in the rear, the axle on top of that, the leaves.
Yep.
So there's less axle wrap. We got, what, 285s? What is it, 285, 40, 18s? I mean, we got bigger sway bars.
Yeah.
Everything on this truck, even the lowered straight axle, it's like, oh yeah, dude, I never thought it was gonna handle like this.
No. Well, we made a few laps. Brandon's got familiarized with the track a little bit. Now that I've gotten the car shaken down quite a bit, I feel comfortable going out and making some hot laps, so I'm gonna get my brain bucket here.
All right, so I'm just gonna go up in the crow's nest and watch.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna see what she'll do.
What a ripper.
When I dreamed up this concept of using an XJ to build a Trackhawk knockoff, I never dreamed it would turn out to be such a cool and impressive truck. It's a counterfeit, and a poor one at that. It's powered by an LS, not a Hemi. It's a manual instead of a zippy modern auto, and it's rear-wheel drive, a huge difference from the all-wheel drive Trackhawk. But it just works. It handles like a sports car, it's got a ton of grip, plenty of braking, and accelerates coming out of the turns like a banshee. It's a little sketchy, but in a way that makes it more fun to drive. Is it a Trackhawk? No, but it's better in so many ways. Plus, it just looks cool. NCM's Corvette experience gives you a combination of classroom instruction and hands-on practice on the track in a lead-follow format. You can get behind the wheel of a C8 Corvette Stingray Z51 for laps around their 3.2 miles, 23 turns road course, built for speed.
And when you become a member of the driving club at NCM Motorsports Park, you become part of a special community of like-minded motorsports enthusiasts.
Okay, so now it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab my helmet.
Have fun.
This truck's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Oh, this is the first time driving this thing.
Be safe out there. When he comes back, he is gonna have a permanent smile on his face. You're not gonna be able to wipe it off for weeks. You watch.
Finally, it's my turn to take the wheel of TrashHawk and see what she can do. Woohoo! Oh my God, this thing's a handful. This thing is awesome! Holy cow! Wow, this is like nothing I've ever driven. The way this handles is, it shouldn't do this. You don't need much more in life than a 700 horsepower Cherokee. Oh yeah, that's every bit of 125. Well, I used every last bit of fuel in this thing. There's no explaining this. You have to drive this. The pedal?
So the one comment that I had when I was driving it was, if you blindfolded me and you put me in here and then you cut a hole in the windshield and all I could see was what was in front of me, I would never in a million years guess that I was driving a Jeep.
No.
Any Jeep, like, doesn't even matter, just it's a Jeep.
Yeah, I would be able to tell it's probably a little bit heavier than, or a different shape than a car.
Right.
This has probably been
I knew
the
it.
best day at work ever.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
Oh,
On to the next one. Let's get this thing out of here, get it back to the shop, put a for sale sign on it. Start building something else cool. But before we go, oh, it'll do a burnout. Your turn. You see what I'm saying?